And it's a shame because the lifetime of BDO looks like it actually has a timer on it now with what they are doing. Let's see what ChatGPT says. Okay, let's talk about what's going on in Black Desert. There is a lot of things happening right now, good, bad, and sadly, it's mostly ugly. Now, I do want to preface at the beginning of this that all these criticisms and things that I'm about to say, I say it out of a place of wanting the game to improve. I'm not trying to piss and moan and hear my voice and just scream this into an echo chamber, though it kind of feels like that's kind of what we're doing now. So there's a lot of things to talk about right now, and let's just run through it. I don't have this in any specific order, but the general consensus is going to be pretty similar across this entire topic being covered. Let's jump into this. So first up, we have the NA CEO has stepped down and left. For reasons as to why, I do not know, but let's cover over this statement and talk about this a bit. So JJ of the NA CEO side of Pearl Abyss has joined NCSoft. These are going to be the people who are making the upcoming MMO Throne in Liberty. This statement reads, I'm leaving Pearl Abyss to take on a new career challenge. It was such a difficult decision to leave my beloved team that I built myself and have grown for the last 6+ years. It's been an amazing 6.5 years with Pearl Abyss and lots of growth, achievements, and learnings earned. Last week was my last week at the Pearl Abyss office in America. It was filled with mixed emotions from gratefulness and sadness and so much laughter and so many tears too. In February 2018, I started by myself in Irvine in a tiny co-sharing office as the first US employee for Pearl Abyss. I set up an office in Manhattan Beach later and officially established Pearl Abyss America in August the same year, exactly 6 years ago. I've been getting many congrats on my 6th anniversary as the Pearl Abyss America CEO all this week. Feeling weird and awkward to say that I'm leaving this place right after getting so many congrats. I cannot thank enough everyone at PA and especially my team in the US, including all the past employees, for everything they've done with me. You guys have been such an awesome team. I've learned and grown a lot thanks to all of you. I truly appreciate it. From the sleepless nights for the product launches, live service issues, to all the fun and great moments at our offline events with our Black Desert players, every single moment will be cherished forever. And all the one-on-one group lunches, dinners, office happy hours, holiday parties, and the boring all hands will be missed so much. I'm on my last vacation at Pearl Abyss before embarking on a new adventure, a real vacation in a long time. And no Gamescom trip for me this year, unfortunately. I'll miss you. We'll be back and keep you posted on my new roles and missions in a few weeks, thanks to everyone at Pearl Abyss and also our partners, agencies, and industry friends who have supported Black Desert and our Western business so far. Please keep supporting and cheering Pearl Abyss America, who will carry on and continue to succeed after my departure. And then NCSoft appoints new leaders for global office. So NCSoft has appointed JJ, formerly the head of Pearl Abyss America, as the new CEO of NC America. Jin has previously led Cacao Games and Pearl Abyss US-based offices as CEO with over 15 years of leadership experience in both Western and Korean gaming companies. She brings extensive expertise in gaming publishing and global business expansion in the Western market. So long story short, yoink, my CEO now. As for the reason as to why, unsure, but there is a bit of speculation if it has to do with the current state of the game. I felt like this was important to mention first, but now let's start getting into the steak and potatoes of what is actually happening abroad right now. So in previous videos, I have talked about the progressional state of BDO, about how the early game has a variety of things to do. Mid game starts to narrow down. Late game starts to become a more one-track mind of focus with a very, very, very narrow perspective on things to do, leading into content that is questionable because there really isn't too much left to do once hitting these points. There is no content. The PvP is in a very, very stale state, and the gear that you need to work towards requires so much of your time that there is no content that matches its caliber or working towards it. You are working on these goals for the reason of just because. If you would like to get a more detailed description on that conversation, feel free to pause this video, check this one out. I will be sure to link this down in the description below, as well as all of the other material that we are going to cover in this video. But long story short, the gear progression is in a very weird stale state, and unfortunately that has been a conversation that is being had for quite some time as of recent. Let's go back to our notes. Gear progression in later game is blah. Not to mention, they've given us a free pen black star, the hard cap endgame item to work towards. Now, don't get me wrong. I have absolutely no problem with giving new players and mid-tier players items that help them progress faster into the game. My issue with the free pen black star specifically is that the bar of progression is just not being raised. They're giving people access to get to the same problems that we are having in endgame a lot faster. And again, if you want to go over that topic as well, definitely check out that video that I've mentioned. But unfortunately, the general conversation that seems to be had across YouTube, across a lot of streams right now, is regarding the state of the game. Now, of course, you can find other content regarding Black Desert Online, but the general topic that seems to be had in the time and making of this video right now is the state of the game is under very, very harsh criticism right now, out of a place from players that is just wanting this place to improve, wanting the game to do better, be better. We all want to basically go back to 2019, 2020 Black Desert Online, when the state of progression and your gear and your efforts that you put into this game genuinely actually meant something. But we are falling further and further away from that vision, and they're doing things into this game that are just becoming insanely questionable. And also, in more recent announcements in the CALPEHON Ball, the most recent dev talk, this honestly had to be one of the most lackluster game developer announcements that we've honestly ever had. They talked about content ideas such as the Demon Castle, the 100-layer dungeon, the Land Before Time BDO. But the problem that I have with this type of stuff right now is that we saw thumbnails. We didn't see content being developed. We saw no development preview of what these things are going to be. We saw thumbnails that come across as a concept idea. Oh, and shocker, the stuff that is actually coming, Korea gets it first. And I definitely think that 7 new grind spots or whatever the number is and additional Black Shrine content from Land of the Morning Light Part 2 is not going to be enough to make compelling enough changes that's going to direct the state of the game in a much more positive direction. If you also want to go over this topic that I also cover as well, I will also link this in the description down below. I think that all of this content that I am referencing here is going to be worthwhile checking out if you want to have the full scope of some of the things that's going on in the state of the game. But when I made my speculation about the CALPEHON Ball, I remember people telling me that I'm pissing, moaning, and I'm just screaming into the void. And I wish I was wrong in this situation and wish we had better things to look forward to. But sadly, I was right. And believe me, I do not feel good about it because it's continuing to add to the staleness that's happening right now. Some of the more important things to make mention of right now is we have DIVIOS on our screen now, who is North America's #1 ranked striker. He is, long story short, a top PvP player, well within the top 100 players on our server. And even him is talking about the end of the era BDO, mentioning that his position as a player in this game, he's not wanting to play anymore. He's talking about quitting. He has done a full long video talking about the destruction of the progressional system, talking about diminishing accomplishments in the current state of PvP, talking about class balance, Land of the Morning Light content, etc. It's a very, very long video, but overall expresses really similar concerns that players abroad are having right now. And this is where it starts to get really unfortunate because top guilds, PvP guilds, the PvP scene is being destroyed in patch updates and changes that are happening right now. And it is really, really sad to see because, again, all of us just want to see this game make decisions that reinvigorate players' passion to play this game. I've mentioned before in the past, and I'll say it again, these changes and things that they're doing right now comes across as PA first, player second. And I know some people have mentioned in the past they don't know what I mean by that, so let me clarify. PA is making decisions that put themselves and their pockets first rather than making compelling enough content that make the players love this game and love the future direction that it is going. It is them first, us second. They are putting content into the game that is not fully tested. They are putting content into the game that is not fully developed, underdeveloped, or completely lackluster. It is completely out of touch, leading me to think that the developers aren't actually playing this game, because if they were playing the game, especially in the chapters that we're in and the endgame players are, they would understand immediately where the problems lie. If you want to check out Divios's detailed explanation, I'd highly recommend checking it out. Again, links for this will be in the description down below. And if someone's going to break down the scene of BDO as well, he's a great person to check out. But bear in mind, the video itself is very long-winded, but I think it is a very worthwhile listen if you want to hear the full details and more on what's going on and his take on things. Divios is also part of North America's strongest guild that we have seen in Black Desert in the North American side. Their name is Cho Nation. Cho Nation has been a top #1 ruling guild in the PvP and siege scene for as long as I can remember, probably since almost the start of the game. When I started playing this game, when it released on Steam, they were at the top, and they have been at the top for the longest time. Now, even Cho Nation has disbanded because of the condition of the PvP scene as well as the game. This statement reads here from Roots, who is the GM of Cho Nation. Probably not a surprise if you've been here for a while, but we are done. I'm going to just type this as I think, so this is probably going to be a wall, but I think we're pretty much all on the same page here. The game is just way too dead and boring now. If I knew 3 years ago it wasn't going to get better, I would have called it then, and it's only gotten worse. I've pretty much been done since the start of the year, and I knew this was happening, even if the node balance changes were good. I just thought it would make the game feel alive for a few more months like usual, and we get some fun out of it, but all they did was just kill it more this time. And we all know that it's not getting better and will keep getting worse. They said a balance patch was coming for a year straight, just for it to suck anyways. They let Node Wars be a PvE mode for years and then managed to come up with a system that is just as boring. They let a bug break Node Wars when they could have fixed it in the day. They had a Heidel ball that told us that there's nothing to even look forward to, and it's about as dead as it can get without turning the servers off. The game has kind of sucked, but I'm happy with how the guild went. I never played any other MMO, so it's been surprising how bad people are at this. We would beat any other guild that existed at their peak, probably from any region, and we ran the server longer than anyone has or will. I always hated calling, so shot calling for the PvP scene. I always hated shot calling. I just had no choice, like every other role that I took over, but you guys made it bearable. Being surrounded by good players kept the game fun, and this is the only guild for that, but it's not enough. We've done everything there is to do besides farm EU, and I gave up on that. Most of you only kept playing for the guild, so it's time to be free. Maybe we'll get nostalgic and mess around on 30s once or twice a week at some point, but for now, we're done. Thank you to everyone who's been a part of the community. I know it won't even be affected by this, but we'll still be here playing random stuff and a little BDO. And honestly, it's sad because with even Cho stepping down, who knows? It probably likely won't be affected because sadly, the ripple effect that comes from our player base doesn't seem to cross over into Korea, doesn't seem to cross over into their development team to take into consideration or even take seriously. But I'm going to talk about more of that near the end of the video, so just stay tuned for that. But regardless, this statement coming from the absolute #1 PvP guild in the game in North America, this is a big deal. This is a huge deal that people honestly should pay attention to, because these people and the team and the members they had on it, they were the true degenerates, even if you will, of this game. Non-stop hardcore players who lived and breathed this game, trying to be the best, because honestly, they were. Statements like this deserve more attention, and this attention deserves to be brought forth and in front of the right people who are making the decisions to change this game. Because as far as I'm concerned, these people who are at the table making these decisions for the game are not the right people at the table anymore. Like, PA, if you ever see this, what you're doing to this game at this point is an absolute joke. You should actually be ashamed of yourself. What you are doing to this player base, what you are doing to this game, you are currently destroying your product through and through. And I really try to be careful and tread lightly with making statements, such as a new game comes out and then everyone's like, oh my God, that's going to be the BDO killer. Oh my God, New World comes out, BDO killer. Oh my God, Throne and Liberty comes out. There's going to be a game killer. That's never going to be the case, because the only people who are going to destroy their own product and game are going to be the developers. But for the first time ever, I have a lot more confidence saying right now that I feel like the wick, which is the lifetime of BDO, has been lit and the fuse is getting shorter and shorter. I'm genuinely afraid that we are actually starting to see the end of a beautiful game that is being imploded by their development team. And it's a shame because the lifetime of BDO looks like it actually has a timer on it now with what they are doing. I'd love to see them reverse this. I'd love to see them change this, but sadly, this doesn't seem like the case scenario right now because a lot of people who have had so much faith, patience, and time and effort put into this game, your most knowledgeable players who are a fountain of wealth are losing faith in this product, in this game. And I think it's important to take a lot of this into consideration because you have some of the best players who can offer some of the best information and none of it's being heard. But we'll talk about that in a bit. So we have top players quitting. We have top guilds disbanding. And this isn't just one guild. Another statement reading from another guild with a large community mentioning that they are going to be disbanding and embarking on new endeavors as well. And then going right back to VesselVision here, who has made guilds that has targeted new players or PvP players for the PvP game mode guild leagues, even having guilds like this being imploded because of PvP changes that are happening. We have the 3v3 game mode, which is Arena of Solaire. Changes that need to happen in this game mode clearly are not. You would think that influence from Solaire would be brought into the large-scale PvP scene, which sadly, again, it's not. And again, if you go across Black Desert streams abroad and ask them what the state of the game is like, I feel confident putting all my chips on the table by saying the same topic is going to be talked about abroad, which is this current state of the game that I'm talking about now. Because the decision makers who are around the table on the PA development side, whoever is part of that table needs to be fucking removed because you need to have product knowledge of your own product that you are selling. And at this point, it feels like you're trying to sell a microwave to people who are looking for a fucking TV. What are we doing now? But again, I'm not making this video to piss and moan. This is something that I feel like is important to cover and talk about. Let's talk about the BDO partnership. Now, I am not allowed to leak any conversations that happen in there. And I don't even know if I'm honestly allowed to talk about anything in specific, so I'm going to refrain from doing so. But I can confidently tell you that the same conversation is happening in there as well. People are not happy, creators are not happy, and the criticisms we are trying to get is to simply listen and take this more seriously because this is a sinking ship at this point. I can tell you right now, without leaking any of these conversations, the BDO partner Discord chat room is becoming an echo chamber of creators begging and pleading to be listened to because the state of the game is in a horrendous state, filled with content creators that have hundreds, if not thousands of hours in this game. Again, a wealth of knowledge that can be offered that is not being taken into consideration nor heard. And DIVIOS, our top PvP mentioner, is in there, as well as other top PvPers in there. No one's being heard. We're just pissing and moaning amongst ourselves at this point. And it's honestly a fucking shame. And you're right. I'm a player first in this game. I'm a creator after. But the general consensus is our creators are starting to suffer. Our players are starting to suffer. The scene is starting to suffer. This game's foundation is starting to crumble. Because you're right. There is no content. They're taking content we already have, coming out with gear, and literally putting it in spots we already have, but this new gear takes 20 to 30 hours to obtain even one of them, and it costs you hundreds, if not thousands of hours to work on getting it to the best grade, and then getting it to the best grade does what for you? Nothing. There's literally no point in having half of the shit. The gear identity is falling off. Class identity is starting to fall off. We're going down this completely narrow scope of progression, which I've mentioned in the first video. I've mentioned as a new player, the game is always going to be the most new player friendly it's ever been. That's all they ever focus on. And there's nothing wrong with that because it's their market. It's a big portion of their revenue. The mid-tier game is still pretty all right as well. But again, we are getting faster into this end game problem that everyone is starting to share abroad. And I have no problem that people are getting free hard cap end game items. But the issue that I have is the bar of progression is not being raised. We have attack and defense. And when you hit certain numbers in attack and defense, you receive special numbers called the brackets. You get X amount of AP, hit that bracket, you get more AP. You hit X amount of DP, you get the bracket for defense, you get more defense. They're putting gear in this game that have exceeded the hard cap brackets, and we're still going above and beyond these numbers, what they're putting into this game. And it's becoming more and more pointless to even obtain. You will have more fun destroying your fucking account and starting all over again from square one than actually progressing and taking pride in the effort that you will put into your account. And again, I know I'm complaining a lot, but I'm genuinely saying this out of a place of trying to criticize in hopes for improvement, but I'm screaming. All of us are screaming into the fucking echo chamber right now. But who's being listened to? Korea. Korea gets everything first. Korea gets this, Korea gets that. For Christ's sakes, we've had announcements in the past that have talked about working and improving on having global releases for content, but they've told us a blanket excuse that a lot of the times when Korea gets it first, it's because the Korean developers make the game in Korean and then it has to be translated. Okay, you know what? If that takes a little bit of time, that makes sense. I don't know why we can't delay it so everyone can enjoy it and we can all enjoy it at the same time and share the same mystical magic at the same time. But let's talk about one of the new gear pieces that did release recently, which was just one ring, one item, the Duborica ring. You mean to tell me you didn't have one person in the fucking office who could translate one Korean translated item and then all of us could have gotten it at the same time? All we're doing is funding Jay's new Bugatti or something. Like, what is happening? It absolutely feels like we will not be heard unless we're Korean. Who knows? I don't know. Just conspiracizing, trying to make sense of it. But unfortunately, none of us can because they don't even know what they're doing at this point. That's what it comes across as. If I could water it down and do a visual representation of what the state of endgame currently is like and what the state of PvP and other topics abroad in this game are like, kind of like this. It's kind of like TLC Hoarders because underneath you can see a home, but at surface level, there's all this shit in the way now. And this is exactly, to me, what Black Desert is starting to feel like. There is a canvas of a game that is underneath all of this bullshit that is happening. All of these bullshit changes that don't make sense. All of these bullshit adjustments that are literally deterring people from wanting to play, progress, and continue to enjoy this game and product. Are we just trying to push away all the veteran players so that eventually you'll just have no veteran players to complain about the game? So really, there's just nothing to worry about. This is what the state of BDO visually looks like right now. It's a fucking mess. This is no longer a simple cleanup job. It is now going to be a project and a miracle to maintain the cleanliness and beautiful integrity you want this game to hold. And when Cacao Games was publishing this game, Cacao Games was really, really good at taking one step forward, 5 steps backwards. At this point, I would rather have Cacao Games back publishing this game than what PA is doing to it, because PA is genuinely destroying this product. That's what it feels like. You know, never mind me. I'm just a fucking crybaby. I don't know nothing. I've got tens of thousands of hours in this game, heard so many opinions abroad, and I clearly don't know what I'm talking. I'm just complaining, you know? It is the same conversation that is being had abroad with everybody. Because forget about PvP, forget about PvE. As long as we have peaceful servers, we'll have happy players, and that's clearly just more profit, right? It's crazy how funny some of these memes are, but how much truth seems to be back behind them. This seems to be the thought process of what is happening right now, but it's even worse. And even in this clip here, you have Digital, who is the #2 guild in NA. What seems like they're memeing and even celebrating the #1 guild, Cho Nation, quitting the game because this now bumps them up into the #1 spot. I mean, congrats, Digital. You did nothing to literally earn the spot, and have fun being #1 in a game that is destroying itself, that is on the path of becoming an actual dead game. It's a shame. This guild and Digital hasn't even come close to having the same presence that Cho Nation has. So congrats to you for being so boastful and not having earned a single bit of this placement you have been bumped up into. You pretty much got the thanks for participating. Here you go. We're all going to get the fuck out of here, but congrats to you for doing what? But satire and jokes aside, the state of the game is just an unfortunate thing to be constantly talking about, constantly bickering about. But the news continues to just seem to get worse and worse and worse. We have CEOs backing out, stepping down, pursuing newer and better opportunities. We have top PvP players backing out of the game. We have #1 contending guilds that have been #1 for years disbanding and quitting the game because of the state of the game. We have creators abroad, including Black Desert Online partners, screaming into an echo chamber about the state of the game. It's all about the state of the game, the state of the game, the state of the game. There is not a corner you can go around, both player or content creator on YouTube and Twitch, that you cannot go and not hear about what is happening right now. And it's a shame, man. I'm so sick of covering topics like this, but this sadly seems to be the only thing to be talking about right now until something does get done, which likely will never happen. Let's see what ChatGPT says. Black Desert is currently in a stale state in the end game. What are some changes you think could be made in the PvP and PvE scene that could help the game improve? Wow. Even ChatGPT knows what's up. I typed this into ChatGPT on how this game could improve, and my God, look what comes up. Ranked arena reward systems, implementing a permanent rank arena system with exclusive tier rewards, improved class balance, regularly assess and adjust class balance, PvP karma system rework, PvP events and tournaments by introducing more in-game PvP events and tournaments with meaningful rewards. Guild and alliance dynamics. Guild politics and alliances are central to BDO, enhancing guild and alliances features, more in-depth diplomacy, unique alliance skills, or exclusive large-scale objectives could deepen the PvP scene. This took 5 seconds for this thing to come up with, and I've already seen 5 brilliant suggestions from AI. Who the fuck do you have in the boardroom making these decisions on this game? You can't use a public tool accessible to you to help improve this game? Let's talk about the PvE improvements. Endgame PvE dungeons. Introduce more cooperative instant dungeons or raids that require group coordination and meaningful rewards. Dynamic world events. Revamp existing grinding spots. PvE ranking system. That's an interesting one. Implement a ranking system for PvE content like time trials, boss kills, or grind spot efficiency. Oh my God, it's like the Black Shrine, which has weekly leaderboards. Why are there not all-time leaderboards? Super simple to put, right? Leaderboards and seasonal rankings could foster a sense of competition and achievement for even the PvE players. Story-driven content. I don't know about that one, but add more narrative-driven PvE content, such as quest lines with unique challenges, boss fights, and story progressions. These could provide alternate ways to progress in-game, giving players more reasons to engage with the lore and world. Quality of life enhancements. Cross-server PvP and PvE. Allow players to participate in PvP and PvE content across servers more easily, creating a larger player pool for events and reducing downtime. Enhanced reward systems. Revise and improve reward systems for both PvP and PvE, ensuring that the time and effort put into activities feels worthwhile. Better communication tools. Improve in-game communications and coordination tools for both PvP and PvE. This includes better party, guild management interfaces, and clearer ways to communicate during larger scale battles. By focusing on these areas, Black Desert Online could create a more dynamic and engaging endgame experience for players, keeping both PvP and PvE community active and invested in the long term. I wonder how many veteran players are baffled by typing this into ChatGPT just once, one take, and we've already seen suggestions abroad that genuinely would help improve the quality of this game. Let's type in, give me more. What else can it come up with? One take here. Territory-wide PvP events, more diverse PvP objectives, PvP bounty system, guild versus guild seasons, faction-based PvP. In the PvE improvements, we could have an expedition system, world boss overhaul, revamping world bosses with scaling mechanics based on a number of participants, PvE raids with role specialization, rotating seasonal PvE content, PvE scenarios with leaderboards as previously mentioned, cross-region PvP tournaments, integrated esports supports, I don't know about that one, player-driven economy enhancements, housing and land ownership PvP, co-op life skilling content, quality of life improvements, in-game training system, create a robust in-game tutorials or training systems for PvP and PvE mechanics. Boy, oh boy, does that one scream into the echo chamber, because this game does an absolutely horrible job holding new player hands in the sense of direction of where to go. This has been something that's actually been needed for a dramatically long time. Dynamic weather and environmental effects. Guild alliances with shared objectives. Player-generated content tools. Give players the tools to create their own content in the game, such as custom dungeons, PvP arenas, or events. I don't know about that one. That one's kind of blah, whatever. I would rather see more creative tools for people to make more creative content. Frequent balance updates. Maintain a regular schedule of balance updates addressing both PvP and PvE concerns with transparent communication from the developers. It's been less than 10 fucking minutes, and I've already seen a list of higher percentage brilliant suggestions. What a fucking joke. You guys have the wrong people in the room. It's time to get the right people in the room. It's time to have the right conversation with the right people, and it's time to start taking the feedback that is needed to be heard, because you are destroying your product, and none of us want to see that happen. Chat GPT. I can't even, dude. I can't even. I wasn't ready for that.